thematic session, access to quality education and governance में सबका स्वागत है. So now I would like to invite respected Shri Sanjay Kumar ji, Secretary, Department of School Education and Literacy, Ministry of Education, Government of India, to the dais. He is chairing our session. I also invite Shri Snore Esraji. Please take your seat. Shri Sri Maheshwari ji, Professor Human Resource Management and the IIT Ahmedabad. I also invite Shri Naveen Jain ji. Please take your seat. Secretary School Education, Rajasthan. So, I welcome our chair and all the panelists in this session. I welcome all the officials from the Ministry of Education and other ministries, teachers, teacher educators, scholars, Shikshavid, students, esteemed members from other organizations, institutions, universities, NGOs. So welcome to this session. National Education Policy 2020 states that access and governance are critical for socio-economic development and overall well-being of the nation. So we are starting this session. I would request our chair, Shri Sanjay Kumar ji, for opening.
Thank you, Professor Rajana. I must say that it's been a great beginning since the morning. And 3 years of NEP, and the Honorable Prime Minister, he came and he acquainted himself with the progress which has taken place, and also blessed us and expressed his fervent desire that if India is to become a developed country by 2047, it has to be on the back of a school education system which is robust and it provides and sustains the needs of the society as well as the country. In this particular panel, today we are going to deliberate on access to quality education and governance. I guess governance is at the heart of it, because governance of education is something we don't talk about much. We often think that we open a school, get the teachers there, and other issues which actually go behind the governance which leads to a school which is functioning in a manner we desire it to or we intend to, somehow I think gets a little put in the rain shadow area, or to put it differently, in a thought shadow area. So we need to think about it. So access to quality education. So now NEP talks about two things. And even before the NEP, we've been talking about access to school. And access to school and quality education, while you are there, they are two separate things. So if you look at historically, when we started, especially at the turn of the century, primarily the first enabling thing was the 86th Amendment to the Indian Constitution, which later enabled the Right to Education Act. And the second most important thing which happened was that Government of India came out with its centrally sponsored scheme, earlier known as Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. The primary focus was on building schools, getting more teachers in place, so as to ensure that we get all our students in school. In 2009, the Right to Education Act came. It brought in some kind of a standard for school and what should be the standard for teachers. NCTE has been working with us since 1994, 95, I stand corrected. So there was NCTE, but somehow in 2000, early when we started appointing teachers, we did not care much about their training needs, their quality, which came in later when the Right to Education Act came in. What happened? We were paying a lot of attention on access. Schools needed to be close to the children. So we said that there should be a primary school within 1 kilometer, a secondary school within 3. And slowly and steadily, the GR of elementary education started climbing up. But somehow, parallelly, what we did see at that time, or perhaps did not find enough place in the public discourse, was also the falling standards of learning outcomes. So as we gain quality, as we gain access, somehow the quality of learning outcomes took a little backseat and it saw a drop. So we will talk about that particular issue. Now I always think that access is extremely important because without access there is nothing we can do. We were at Bhubaneswar sometime back and the Singapore High Commissioner was there and he was mentioning his experience of having met the legendary famous Prime Minister of Lee Kuan Yew. And he said that one evening while he was having a conversation with him, he asked him that, what is your mool mantra for development of Singapore? And he said that he summed it up in 3 parts, 3 sentences, short sentences I would say. No child should be out of school. Everyone should have a job. And the job should pay enough so as to enable you to keep your body and soul together. And I often say that this is what the NEP envisages. The NEP envisages that no children should be out of school, but then the education provided to the child should have quality education. So that is one issue. I am very happy to say that we have by and large reached fairly good access in the elementary level. So what are the worrisome trends which we are seeing? Out of every 100 children who are in class 1, 57 reach class 11, 12. So 43 children are dropping out on the way. The maximum number of drop is taking place from 6 to 7 and 8 to 9. And some also from 10 to 11. So we need to discuss and deliberate that how do we arrest this shortfall. If 100 children join in class in the pre-primary as the NEP mandates, then that many number of children should also reach class 12 because NEP says that by 2030 the GER for secondary education should be 100. So that is one issue. The second issue is, and I'm going to talk about because today's topic also says governance. So are we looking at what is the cost of providing education? What is the cost of providing education per child? Can that be optimized? And I'm leaving a few thoughts for you behind. We are running 14.89 lakh schools in the country. Out of that, 10.5 lakh schools are in the government and government-aided sector. And out of this 10.5 lakhs, 37% of the schools have enrollment of less than 50. So we are running very small schools, though we are providing access, but somehow we are missing out on the economy of scale in these particular schools. The second thing which I want to mention, and I would want you to deliberate, I either today in the panel discussion or sometimes later, is the fact that we are running almost 10 types of schools. There is a school which is 1 to 12, then there is a school which is 1 to 10, then there is 1 to 5, then there is 6 to 8, 6 to 12, 6 to 10, 10 to 12, 9 to 12. So almost 10 types of schools which we are running, and these schools have evolved the way historically they have done. But can we look at them and start rationalizing these schools? Because just to give you one example, if you have a school from 1 to 8 and if you have a school from 6 to 8, look at the optimal utilization of teachers. We need to, today also 10% of schools out of this 10.5 lakhs are single teacher schools. So this needs to be, so governance comes in as a very important thing, and I would request our panelists to dwell on that, because somehow the governance of school education doesn't get talked about much. And the last point before I close, I want to also say, the finance of school administration also doesn't get talked about much. If you see health, there is a whole field of health economics, and there are so many people who are talking about it. But somehow when I look at the school education, I don't see much being talked about on the economics of running a school or school administration system. So with these beginning and remarks, I would want to set the trend for the discussion this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So you might have seen that when we started the session, access has been increased. So now the room is full, and I just want, it's my responsibility to introduce sir, which I have missed that time because of the attendance here. So Shri Sanjay Kumar ji, Secretary Department of School Education and Literacy, Ministry of Education, Government of India, joined Indian Administrative Services in the year 1990 and was allocated Bihar cadre. In the initial years, he held several positions in the field as sub-divisional magistrate and district magistrates. He worked in Ministries of Social Justice and Empowerment, Government of India from 2004 to 2008, and as Principal Secretary to Chief Minister Jharkhand from 2015 to 2008. In the last 10 years, he has worked as extensive in senior positions in the sector of health and education in Bihar, and has developed an interest and expertise in public health policy, grassroots mobilization, and education. He has varied interests and mainly eclectic reading, including natural sciences and history. So thank you, sir. Thank you for initiating the session, and we will be listening to him during the session as well. So now I would like to invite Shri Sunil Kumar Maheshwari ji for his deliberation. Shri Sunil Maheshwari ji is the Dean, Alumni and External Relations and Professor of Human Resource Management and Strategic Management at IIM Ahmedabad. He is an alumni of IIT Delhi and IIM Ahmedabad. He is a former IRPS officer. He switched to academics in 1998. His research, consulting and teaching interests are strategic human resource management, international human resource management, business turnaround, and traditional Indian literature, Bhagavad Gita. His book entitled Turn Around Excellence is published by Penguin Books India. He has widely published his research articles in both national and international journals of repute. He has written more than 40 cases. He has been a consultant to many large national and international organizations. He has served on the board of many organizations, including Andhra Bank and UCO Bank. Sir, please.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I think Secretary C. Sanjay Kumarji set the agenda so nicely. I would build up on that, what you just talked about. So, there are three issues that we are talking about in this session: access, quality and governance. And I think all the three issues in school education are very, very critical. I'll touch upon, I think, and the national education policy has done quite a lot in that direction. But sir, with the, I would like to share some of my thoughts in this area. One, I would talk about the access. And as Secretary rightly pointed out, we, with the concern of access, we have schools where there are very small number of students and cost becomes prohibitive. At the same time, there are schools where the number of teachers is very, very inadequate. The number of students is very high. So we have huge variation. And how do we address that? And I think that's a important concern. What I was looking at the access issue and why we have small schools is primarily the problem of transportation. If we do not have a school in nearby vicinity, then the transport or the travel that the students will have to make to the schools becomes a big challenge. And if we can examine this issue from transport point of view, that how do we make sure that the students are able to easily attend the schools. I mean, for senior students, to me the solution appears to be a little simpler. Even if we can give them simple things like cycles, then even little distant school they can visit. But for smaller children, that's not going to work. We need to look at that. How do we make sure that the schools are accessible to the students? The second issue on accessibility on the transport, the other solution, I was just thinking very loudly, and I've seen this in some of the other sectors happening. Can we have mobile education facility where while the regular education is happening, but to specialized topics, specialized issues, we have the mobile education setup, which goes from village to village, the community to community, and start educating the children. In some of these sectors it has worked very well, and if we start thinking about it, probably it can add a lot of value. Access is also the issue of admissions and the finances. And the government has done quite a lot. They have beautiful schemes. But my assessment in the field, sir, is that the awareness about this is less than adequate. There are lots of families, lots of children. They would take advantage of these schemes of the government. But I think the awareness is not there, and perhaps they are not even aware that such a thing exists. For example, right to education. Wonderful act and very, very powerful act. We have provisions even in the private schools to admit these children. But when I go to the field and we find out, the children are not even aware of it. So I think just like if we learn from health, and Secretary Education has worked in health and we know it so well. For example, HIV/AIDS sector, the communication played the key role in controlling this particular problem. So I think education sector also need to widely disseminate what government is doing so that more and more people can come up and take advantage of these schemes. I think we need to look into that issue. Of course, the finance we are taking care of. I don't know the NEP, they talk about 6% budget should go to the education sector. That's the dream, that's the kind of plan we had. But I don't think that we are even closer to that. But of course, there are competing sectors, everyone needs more money. But I look for a day when the education sector start getting major share in the budget. These are some of my early thoughts on the access to the school education. The quality of education is a function of quite a few things. One is of course the infrastructure, and especially when NEP is talking about 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, that means you are going to get so-called pre-primary school children in the school. The nature of infrastructure that would be required in those schools is going to be qualitatively different. And are we gearing up those schools for providing this pre-primary kind of education to these children? This is one part. The second, of course, the quality of teachers. We are talking about the training of teachers. My primary question is the recruitment of teachers itself. I mean, you can train up to a point if your recruitment is not adequate. And I think we need lots and lots of effort there. When we recruit the kind of applications we get as a country, has it become the most preferred profession among the people? Can we make it so that we get the most wonderful applications to enter into this profession? So my challenge would be that how do I attract the best of applicants entering into the education sector? So recruitment is much bigger challenge, and if we don't pay attention to the recruiting the best of the possible talent, training will do only that much good to us. The third element of quality, sir, to me, my mind, according to my qualitative studies in this sector, has been the kind of principle we have. Everything is the same. The moment the principle changes, the quality of education in the school goes dramatical change. And I think that's where the choice of principle, and I think we should pay enormous attention. It should not be merely by seniority. I think that's a disservice to the sector. We must test our, and we have started this in the government. The higher positions are now going through very rigorous selection. When it comes to appointment of the principal, I think we need to pay a lot more attention. It's a very, very strategically very important role. Everything hinges on that. And while the teachers are same, the school is the same, the children is same, one change of principal does the magic. Can we pay attention to that? Who becomes the principal, their selection process? I think that's the second element I would say in the quality is very critical. Third element of in the quality education is the governance, the other elements of governance or involvement of the other stakeholders. We have been talking about parents' involvement, which goes without say, but I would say that can we involve the other dignitaries of the society? For example, if it's a village, we can involve the other the known people there. And during the break, I was sharing this with the secretary. Coming from the health sector, I was thinking of, can we have something like mother school? Like, we have mother NGO. Can we have a mother school? This school becomes a role model kind of a school, but not only a role model kind of a school, but also start coordinating the other schools and ensure the excellence of other schools, and start providing the teaching support, the material support, and then so on. I think if we do that, this will put pressure on these schools for excellence. I think the other element, and I think the government has to think very seriously. In US, we have a system, the nearby school. Who puts their children in the school? Can I force the who is who of the area to put their children in the nearby school? I think the stakeholder, if the stakeholders become very demanding, there is no choice on the schools but improve. Today I live in one area and I put my children in the best of the school, they travel 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers. I think as a country, can we start also thinking that you have to put your children in nearby, maybe 2 kilometer radius, 3 kilometer, we can decide that. But you may be the richest person of this area, you may be the industrialist, you may be a bureaucrat, but you have no choice but to put the child in that school. I'm sure it put pressure on the schools to improve. So can we ensure that stakeholders become very, very demanding and look at some of those mechanisms to improve the quality of education, especially in the schools? And also, I was thinking that from the governance point of view, apart from just the choice of the principal and the other community members, can we start having a say of the teachers, and can we create some kind of collective bodies, and the issues of the schools are highlighted and represented at appropriate forums. So these are my some of the early thoughts. This is based on my qualitative studies that I have conducted in studying these schools, what need to be done. More, I'll share my thoughts during the question answer. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sunil Maheshwari. So now I would invite Mr. Snorre Vestgaard, CEO, Humana People to People. Before his remark, I'll just give his introduction. So Mr. Snorre Vestgaard has over 40 years of professional experience of designing and leading development programs tackling crucial social, educational and health issues faced by the people across the globe. He has extensive experience in directing and leading organizations working on projects relating to education, health, community development and livelihood and environment, galvanizing communities to work together to address the challenges facing them. Mr. Vestgaard has been working with Humana People to People India since 2004 and has been leading HPPI to meet its development goals by working with central and state government, local and global non-profit organizations, community groups, researchers as well as private partners. In education, he and his team have in cooperation with states developed innovative and effective programs for teacher education, the bridging and mainstreaming of out-of-school children, and for enhancing learning outcomes through personalized and experiential learning systems for lakhs of children. So, please, Mr. Vestgaard.
So, good afternoon to all, and thank you for inviting me to this very distinguished panel. It's a very, this topic of access to quality education for all and also governance in school is very close to my heart. And I think the national education policy was, you can say, is a watershed in defining a new direction for education or a new level of direction for education in India. But it's a very ambitious goal, and just as the SDG 4 in the Sustainable Development Agenda, access to education for quality education for all and completing grade 12 secondary education. So especially in India, because of the vast school landscape, as the Secretary also mentioned, almost 15 lakh schools. It's a huge task, and it's a vast ecosystem. On the other side, I think what we can see, and what we sometimes also talk about, is that India do not have a problem in achieving quality education for some. India has have many prestigious institutions. The previous speaker, he comes from one of them. And that has world-class education, deliver world-class education, and also very good results. And also, I mean, we also saw the children today who were masters of ceremony for the program from Kendra Vidalia. They also come from, I would say, very, very high-level, high-quality educational institutions. So yes, quality education is there, but the problem is that it's only for some and not for all. And the challenge for all of us is to deliver quality education for all the children. This last year, UNESCO also published a report which was a transforming education report called Reimagining Our Futures Together, a new social contract for education. This report took the point of departure in two things. On one hand, we have a global learning crisis. At the Transforming Education Summit, there was an exhibition of 100 chairs, with 30 of the chairs were blue, were blue, and 70 of the chairs were red. And the 70 chairs, red chairs, represented how many of grade 10 students globally that cannot read a simple text with comprehension. And that's the problem that many of our children in rural areas, in remote schools face. On the other hand, this report is also very ambitious when it comes to 21st century skills, and to say what kind of education do we need to prepare the generation for the future, and not only for artificial intelligence and robotics and all that, but also to live together peacefully on a planet which is in crisis because of climate change, global warming and climate change. So the future generation need to be able to address these problems that are facing us as mankind, and be resilient and find solutions. And I wanted to read one quote from the National Education Policy, which also highlights this with the 21st century skills. Education thus must move towards less content and more towards learning about how to think critically and solve problems, how to be creative and multidisciplinary, and how to innovate, adapt, and absorb new material in novel and changing fields. Pedagogy must evolve to make education more experiential, holistic, integrated, inquiry-driven, discovery-oriented, learner-centered, discussion-based, flexible, and of course enjoyable. End of quote. So to face the challenges addressed to us by the National Education Policy 2020, we need to find solutions within the existing reality of our schools, the structure, both infra and operational, and the teachers as well as other stakeholders. I think the previous speaker also mentioned, finding solution to transport, finding solution to recruitment of teachers, and so on. And I want to dwell more into how do we actually, in a reality where the classrooms have multi-level children of all kind of different levels, and how do they actually manage to catch up and reach their age-appropriate level, or what we can say proficiency level. And these, what I've seen, I visited some schools in Yavatmal. I visited many schools, but my last visit was to some remote villages in Yavatmal. And what really struck you when you visit is that the school is there, it's nicely painted, the teachers are there, they get midday meals. The school system reaches every corner, and all children have access. But then, unfortunately, many of the children, actually most of the children, are not on a proficient in their grades. So what I would like to talk about is, which also have to do with governance, is that top down a kind of a curriculum, and you have to teach according to the curriculum and just follow instructions from above, does not work for these children. And I would think that one of the ways that governance could mean something for the teachers and children in these schools is that the learning objectives are clearly defined, and that we train our teachers, our existing teachers in our existing schools, to take ownership of those objectives, and then they work towards the goal. And it has to be from the level where we are. Just that the children have to learn in a constructivistic manner from where they are. They have to build on that. The teacher also have to, work with what they have and move one step at a time. I want to mention a couple of examples from my work. And one is from Yavatmal, which is an aspirational district of Maharashtra. it was identified as a low-performing district according to National Achievement Survey 2017, and the Prime Minister's Office launched an initiative called Mission Education to lift 8 of these low-performing districts out of the low-performing status. And then the Minister of Education requested various NGOs to help the district to improve learning levels. So we were asked to work in Yavatmal. We contacted the CEO for Sila Parishad and the district collector, and then we also worked together with the District Office of Education and the DICE. The MCRT approved the TLM that we developed, which includes personalized learning, structure for peer learning, real-life experiential learning, formative assessment and adaptive assessment, and parent and community involvement. So in practical terms, this means, sorry, I forgot all about my, I lost my PPT, sorry about that. In practical terms, this means 5 workbooks for the children from grade 1 to 5 in 3 subjects, exercises linked to specific competencies as defined by NCRT, a teacher manual, teacher guide on activities linked to monthly themes for experiential learning, and adaptive assessment system and self-assessment with what we call tracking my progress card and tracking our progress chart. With tracking our progress chart is actually a chart on the wall where all the children's names are and all the competencies are listed, and then the children tick off when they have completed all the competencies, so that the children are engaged in the whole planning process of closing their learning gaps. And it works. I mean, kids want to, maybe not the smaller kids, but grade 3, 4, and 5, they can easily understand what they are doing. They can see where they are going, and they become part of governing their own learning process. So in the first phase, the district selected 260 schools across all 16 blocks and involved 15,000 children. And then in the second phase, we hope to reach all the children, all the 2 lakh children in the district. But we can see, because it's a systematic learning system and holistic learning system, we can see that progress is remarkable, so that after around 7 months, the children had improved their learning with 1.6 to 160%, which means that they've crossed, basically, some of the children covered 2 grades in these 7 months. We have seen similar results in other states where a systematic learning system have been used to achieve better learning outcomes. Now you can ask that maybe, okay, is this in line with this of teachers taking ownership of the objectives, and does it give more freedom of methodology and so on? But our experience is that if you make a comprehensive learning system with all the tools available, it actually gives, you can say, generates freedom and energy in the teachers to be more innovative. They get more courage to be more innovative and take charge of the learning process. So the combination actually works. So I also want to mention as another example, which is Haryana. The Samagra Shiksha State Project Office had bridged over 1 lakh out-of-school children in the last 5-6 years before mainstreaming them in age-appropriate classes. And I also think my experience is also a very good example on governance of how the districts have taken full ownership of this program. It took time, because from everything that is directed from the top, there is always resistance. But because it was a long-term program and it has been better year after year, we can now see that the districts take 100% ownership, and the program is implemented in a very timely and effective manner year after year. And similarly, a new pilot project has been initiated for Haryana for the 11 to 14-year-olds, which will cover grade 6 to 8. These children, when they enter, because some of these children, when they are so old, it's a long time since they went to school or they haven't gone to school, but then in a short time they can cover their grade 5, and then after that they can continue with you could say fast track program for 6, 7 and 8 respectively. So these are small examples of small steps towards quality education for all, built on the existing realm of human and financial resources available in states, using methodologies that enable teachers and children to build on their existing knowledge and understanding, and move forward at their own pace and assessing individual progress for every child. I always say it's very, very important that we always assess a child's progress individually, not ranking, but individually. A child who moves forward and learns new things has done wonders. I mean, it's progress, even though he or she is at the bottom of the class, and thus they become responsible for their own learning. So this was a few examples, and yes. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Westgard. Very nice presentation. So now I would like to invite Shri Naveen Jain ji. Shri Naveen Jain is Secretary, School Education, Rajasthan, IAS 2001 batch, Rajasthan cadre. He initiated Dial Future, a program to give career counseling to these students from 9th to 12th class, and also special guidance to those students who have passed 10th class this year for selection of suitable stream. Planning to launch Mission Start for use of available hardware to provide e-content to the students for those students in which for those students where school is having shortage of teachers. Finalization of revamped guidelines for No Bag Day. So he has contributed in the finalization of revamped guidelines for No Bag Day on Saturdays for providing life skills and other information to the students of government schools. He trained 8,000 school teachers about safe childhood to avoid child sexual abuse, through which 8 lakh students benefited. He has received National Award for creating of Asha Soft. Now I would like to invite him for his
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to Secretary Education, Government of India, for providing me this opportunity. And this is my first stage appearance as Secretary Education, Government of Rajasthan. Sir, I was Mission Director, National Health Mission for 4.5 years in Rajasthan. So I made many appearances. So this is first time for education. And sir, based on my experience in social sector, that to health in Rajasthan, I could pick up this sector quite fast. I am 70 days old in this department. So this is a disclaimer. So I can get the benefit of not knowing the things greatly, but sir, I will try my best. Sir, when I was thinking that where should I start, like I was given the topic of access to quality education. So I thought that there is a difference between access to education and access to quality education. Suppose we all want to enter into this hall to attend this session at 1 p.m. We are at the gate and we are told by some people that, have you any Aadhaar card? And we say, no, we are not carrying any Aadhaar card. Do you have it in your mobile phone? We say, sorry, we don't even have it in our mobile phone because we don't have any Aadhaar card at home. So then they say, no, you cannot enter. Then we know somebody, he says, koi baat nahi, ek baar to jao. Then we enter into this building. Then we don't know where is level 1 because there are no boards. So somebody, takes pity on us. No, I'm not telling any reality, sorry. I'm just. So somebody says, okay, you are shayad, ab dekh rahe hain ki where is level 1, it is down. So we try to go down. They say only yellow are allowed, red are not allowed. So some children with येलो एंटर बट रेड वाले रह जाते हैं, आधार वाले बाहर अभी भी खड़े हैं. एंड देन वी कम टू द लेवल, देन वी सर्च फॉर वेयर इज हॉल नंबर 7. Some of us enter into hall number 6, sit there for some time, and then we see, no, it's not hall number 6 and 7, and then we come to 7. Then we come here and we find that there are no speakers at all, and we wait for half an hour. Some of us lose interest and go to our friends and relatives. And when we think that there are speakers, but they are speaking in Russian or Italian, we are not interested because we don't know these languages, so we go back. Or they are sitting in such a way, we are not able to see the presentation at all. So, is there any access? So, this is the point I think is quite related with access to quality education in schools. And many points are very much similar. So, are we giving real access? So, I will say in Rajasthan, things are very easy to say. We are the largest state. Area-wise, we are the largest state in India now, and our population is nearly 80 million. These are our numbers, very impressive numbers we have. We have more than 1 lakh schools, and out of them, 67% are in government sector. So we are quite important in Rajasthan as government school education department. But you can see when it comes to enrollment, we have only 55% and 45% go to private schools. And when we come to teachers, you can see a marked difference because we have 55% of the teachers while we have 66% of the schools. So naturally you can say in one line that teacher-student ratio is poor in government schools in Rajasthan. So now the question is why it is happening, why government schools are not able to retain children, or if at all some children have to study in our schools, whether we are able to give them quality education. So when I joined as Secretary Education, I tried to find out कि हम लोग देना क्या चाह रहे हैं principals को, staff को, students को, parents को. Sir, I went to around 50 schools and I talked to lots of people and I asked what is the problem here. There was a Sarv Shiksha, there is Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan, now there is a Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan, and you are not still happy. When we were there 15 years ago, you are not happy. Still, after we have given you so many rooms, we have given you teachers, we have given you TLM, we have given you 57 kind of guidelines in Samsa, why are you not happy now? So sir, this is the problem. You have given us so much, even we could not, coordinate things like that. And somewhere we are threatened. So why you are threatened? Sir, number one, sir, we are threatened by a person who is publishing these passbooks all in one. I thought that passbooks are only in colleges. When I was Commissioner College Education, I spoke a lot against passbooks. That they say only read 5 questions, 3 will come and you will pass. Then I found that these passbooks have entered into 9th to 12th. Then I saw that they have entered into middle, 6 to 8. And I think 1 month back, I went to the market and I saw all-in-one passbook for 3rd class, 4th class and 5th class. So I thought passbook people have also come to know that now G20 is talking about FLN. So they have started their own version of FLN. And if you read any passbook of 3rd, 4th, 5th class, आपको ये लगेगा कि जितने भी लोग हम यहाँ बैठे हुए एफर्ट्स कर रहे हैं या एफर्ट्स करना चाहते हैं, उनकी एडवर्टाइजमेंट के सामने हमारे एफर्ट्स कुछ भी नहीं है, क्योंकि वो फुल पेज ऐड देते हैं तो मीडिया भी पब्लिश नहीं करता है. इस लड़ाई में आप अकेले रह जाते हैं एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर के तौर पे, बिकॉज मीडिया डजंट सपोर्ट. दे गिव फुल पेज ऐड एंड वो भी फ्रंट वाला फ्रंट, तो अराउंड 50 लाख ऐड. सो ये थ्रेटन है कि हम पासबुक से कैसे स्ट्रगल करेंगे. हमारी टेक्स्ट बुक कौन पढ़ रहा है? आर दे रीडिंग आवर टेक्स्ट बुक्स रियली? नंबर 2, दे आर थ्रेटेड बाय कोचिंग कंपनीज हु आर सेइंग कि पहले तो बच्चे को 11th में लेते थे कि चलो 12th के बाद एग्जाम है, देन उन्होंने कहा कि 9th से आने शुरू हो जाओ क्योंकि आप 2 साल उनको गेन हो जाएगा. बट नाउ दे आर कमिंग फ्रॉम 6th क्लास. दे आर सेइंग व्हाई आर यू सेंडिंग देम टू स्कूल्स व्हेन दे हैव टू बिकम इंजीनियर और डॉक्टर. स्कूलिंग को, एजुकेशन को इतना बड़ा थ्रेटन है. मैंने ज्यादा बात नहीं सुनी कि वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस, बट दिस इज अ बिग थ्रेट दैट दे आर सेइंग अटेंड कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूशंस, स्कूल में एडमिशन हम करवा देंगे, वी विल मैनेज दैट, यू गेट अ सर्टिफिकेट फ्रॉम अ स्कूल के 6th पास हो गया आपका बेटा ऑफिशियली, बट डोंट वरी, यू डोंट हैव टू गो टू दैट स्कूल. बच्चे ने कभी वो स्कूल देखा नहीं अपनी लाइफ में कि वो कहाँ है, उसके दोस्त कौन है, उसके उसके क्लासमेट्स कौन है, वो ओनली एग्जाम देने जाता है, उस दिन पता लगता है कि वो दे आर माई क्लासमेट्स. बट दिस इज हैपनिंग इन अ बिग वे. और मैं तो ऐसे स्टेट से आता हूँ जहाँ पर हमारे एक शहर है कोटा, जहाँ पे आप सभी के बहुत सारे रिलेटिव्स के बच्चे पढ़ते होंगे, और हमारा कोटा का जो एजुकेशन इंडस्ट्री है वो तो यही करता है. तो वी आर पायनियर ऑफ दिस. Actually, we are pioneer of this thread from coaching institution which are entering into 6th class. Then next question arises, they are threatened by too much activities, too much guidelines that they cannot count even, that how many guidelines are put. Then fourth, I think they say they are also threatened by people in their own institutions, the demotivating principals or demotivating education officers or any administrator who are demotivating them. So many threats are there, and I think this is really affecting access to quality education with some compulsions like having an Aadhaar card. But I think many states like us, now we have done away with this. We are saying that, apply for an Aadhaar card or have anything which you can prove that, you are identified as a person. We will see to that. So this was, now these are our goal. I had decided to show my presentation in a typical manner, but I think I will skip it very fast. You know that the entire education setup can be divided into 3 parts. What we are doing for these ECCE and first and second grade, 3 to 8, 9 to 12. All of us understand now that education should be divided like this. First of all, I tell you what are we doing in the first segment, that is primary or pre-primary segment. This is something I really wanted to tell you because Rajasthan has done it quite well. We have around 62,000 Anganwadi branches. So out of them, 20,000 are physically integrated because these Anganwadi are in my school only. We have given them space, so they are being run in our schools. So there is a very good handholding by us. One of our grade 3 teacher is teaching their necessary things. Then we have taken up 23,000 those Anganwadis which are in the vicinity, like 700 meter we have given the area under which you are there. You are functionally integrated with me. So I am giving them a grade 3 teacher who is going 2 lectures per day to teach them. He is handholding the Anganwadi Sahika worker. So this is something I can say we are doing well. And there are many benefits. I think I need not tell each of these. These are very much understandable. Another thing which we are doing in early childhood care and education, we have Mahatma Gandhi English Medium School. And this this initiative has come up very well in last 4 years. Now we have more than 3,000 Mahatma Gandhi English medium schools. They are doing English medium education, but in Rajasthan board only. So out of them, 1,000 we have started even pre-primary classes. There is nursery, LKG and UKG. And we have deployed NTT qualified people. And first of all, we have taken a lot from the ICDS department that, now we are starting it under our aegis. So please give us your teachers. So we have taken there 1,836 teachers who will be running these 1,000 pre-primary schools. Then in this segment, I think we are mainly depending on the workbooks and mainly some of the mobile apps which we have developed with the help of NIC and some of our REI partners. And these books and these apps are helping teachers and children, but I think they need to be made accessible to quite a bigger area. Now they are limited to I think a limited area, mainly urban area and some of the big rural villages. This is something which I was asked to tell you, that sir, ये आप जरूर बताना, ये हमारा बहुत अच्छा है, तो मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ ईमानदारी से, that AI-based assessment was done in Rajasthan. What they did, like they took all the students from 3rd to 8th grade for 3 subjects. They tested them 3 times, and in this way 4.5 crore tests were taken in a year. Approximately 50 lakh students के लिए उन्होंने लिया, 50 lakh students into 3. So it became 4.5 crore sheets. Now teacher took a test, took a photograph of the test, scanned it, and they scan भी क्या करना है, आपने picture लिया है JPG and you have sent it. Now they had an AI app जिसने इसको immediately they assessed it and gave the result, and 96% accuracy rate मुझे बताया गया कि it came. And teacher का काम 20 seconds में हो गया था because he had to click a pic and send. So in this way you can see जो assessment teacher के level पे 4 to 5 minute average लग रहा था because of this centralized assessment and checking system of seats. I think it happened quite well, and this was done last year for the first time. And this year we are repeating the same because we find that this is something which will establish some sort of responsibility accountability. Now 9 to 12. This is something which I took from my own life. You know, after 10, I had no clue in 1991 what to do next. I belong to a very small town where I was not aware what to do. Somebody said कि आप तो A section में हैं, you are with good children, all are taking science, you must also take science. तो मेरे पेरेंट्स ज़्यादा जानते नहीं थे, उन्होंने कहा ओके आप भी साइंस ले लो, सबने लिया है। तो मैंने बोला I hate science, I don't want to take science. What option I have? उन्होंने कहा कि फिर इतने इंटेलिजेंट बच्चे को आर्ट्स तो नहीं लेना चाहिए, तो कॉमर्स तो लो कम से कम। मतलब दिस वाज व्हाट आई थॉट। और मैंने देखा कि 30 ईयर में कोई ज़्यादा फर्क नहीं पड़ा है। मतलब यू नो सजेशंस आर लाइक दिस ओनली। और रूरल एरिया में एक और चीज़ होती है, देयर इज वन मोर लॉजिक। रूरल एरिया में देयर इज नो लॉजिक। रूरल एरिया में क्या होता है, आपके गांव में कौन सा स्कूल है? सर स्कूल है गवर्नमेंट का, वी टीच ओनली आर्ट्स, क्योंकि साइंस तो बहुत ही लग्जरी होती है और कॉमर्स भी थोड़ी ज़्यादा नहीं, तो लग्जरी तो है ही है, वो भी कंफर्ट तो है ही, एटलीस्ट नेसेसिटी है ओनली आर्ट्स। तो वी हैव ओनली 1000 कॉमर्स एंड साइंस स्कूल, बट वी हैव 18,000 आर्ट्स स्कूल जो कि +1 +2 ऑफर करते हैं। व्हाट चॉइस दे विल गेट? अल्टीमेटली दे डोंट हैव एनी चॉइस। तो मैं यहाँ पे स्ट्रीम सिलेक्शन क्या करवाऊंगा? बिकॉज मैं उनको यही बोलूंगा कि घर से निकलते जो पहला स्कूल है, चूज दैट। वो जो पढ़ाता है वही तुम्हारा करियर होगा, वही तुम्हारी जिंदगी होगी, 50 साल भुगतो तुम लोग। दिस इज हाउ आई थिंक मेनली वी मे बी रनिंग द थिंग्स। तो हमने इस बार ये कोशिश की है। व्हाट वी डिड स्पेशली इन टाइल फ्यूचर, when I asked my teachers, I trained them for 3 hours. I told them what I was thinking, and I told them all these things. I said, please आप बच्चे को ये बताना, बेटा इस स्कूल में तो only arts है. You have only one option, arts. But 15 kilometer away there is a commerce school if you can go, and 25 kilometer away there is a science school if you can go. And these are the details, these are the logistics. Can you go? And this is transport voucher scheme we will give you if you cross 5 kilometers. At least this much is the right of a student, I think, who has read. मेरे दिमाग में ये morality या ये ethical चीज मेरे दिमाग में थी. That's why I tried to do this. And this year 1 lakh children at least listened to us and took a bold decision. They didn't take admission in the nearest school. Rather they went to 10 kilometer or 25 kilometer. And I think all of us didn't choose stream like this. I think all of us sitting in this room, we did not choose because there was a school nearby. We chose because we wanted to take something better for our lives. And this much right should be given to 10 lakh children who have cleared 10th class in Rajasthan. At least हमें उनको बताना तो चाहिए. अगर पेरेंट्स नहीं मानते हैं तो that is secondary. बताना हमारी ड्यूटी है, लेना उनका काम। सर मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूँ कि राजस्थान में when I talked about e-content, sir, we were having wonderful e-content by a company Mission Gyan, जहाँ पे कि they were not paying any, they were not charging anything, and all the videos have been shot by government teachers only in COVID time. When they were not doing anything, they were calling them and they were making the videos. Now this is a good material from 1st to 12th class in Rajasthan. Now second thing is how this e-content will go if I don't have any hardware. So I introduced a concept that let's have a mission where we will count all the hardware in the schools. But sir, it was a painful exercise. It took me 1 month to count every TV, every board, every computer lab जो कि functional. And it took me 1 month, and yesterday only I arrived at a figure that in Rajasthan we have around 11,980 schools where I have a reliable hardware. Now this is my first victory. Now second is how to make it, how these hardware will receive the e-content. Internet and satellite thing I don't believe much because this is a third party dependence for me, because YouTube will be buffering because even we don't get much very good quality internet there. So we thought of providing hard disk. And sir, I am very much thankful to Government of India. This year PAB had allowed us around 12,000 hard disks and we could procure that. And now we are filling that e-content into those hard disks and we are making them available to these schools. But it will not solve the problem because this is all what we have. Number one, there is a hardware. Number two, there is the e-content. Number three, there is the external storage device which can run the program. But what is missing in all this? We should have a scheduling. We should have a monitoring system. जहाँ पे कि one school issues a program that next week 6 days, if there are 8 periods, the periods will run like this. There should be a program which should be released, and mainly we should focus on those subjects where we don't have teachers. Number one, we should take those subjects where teachers are not available and will not be available in near future. So this we have done, and we have estimated that if we start this program from 15th August till February 1st week, we can get 1 crore extra periods by running that e-content. This is our estimate. 11,980 into periods, 48 periods per week, and this much. Now, no back day. I must say this is something which Rajasthan has done really well, but I have made only one change. I have asked them to include certain activities compulsorily. 3-4 things which everybody of us talks. These are normal things which are running for 4 years. Know your state, some language skill, about plays, about sports. I am also a scientist, Bal Sabha. This is running for last 4 years. These guidelines are already there. I have introduced these 5 new things, and these are the names of these activities. Number 1, the preamble and fundamental duty of the Constitution. Every Saturday when there is a prayer, I think they should be read by everybody. Maximum students should get a chance. Number 2, in Rajasthan, in many parts of India, we keep on reading that people are molesting or they are abusing children in the age group of 1 year, 2 year to 12 years. So can we introduce a program like this? On 19th August, in entire Rajasthan, we will run a program about safe touch, yani against bad touch. On 28 October and January, we will repeat it, because all child psychologists have told us they should get it at least 3 times in 6 months, because otherwise in one program they will forget about it. So why I have given all these dates? One program about road safety, one program against tobacco, because in Rajasthan tobacco is becoming a problem. And then last is our SMART initiative. It can be personality development, communication skills, stage fright, everything. So these 5 activities with these dates will be compulsory in Rajasthan. You cannot compromise with these dates. You have to run these programs only, and we will be providing separate modules for all these programs. So it will be no back day. And I was telling, in Rajasthan, Mahatma Gandhi government schools have come up very well. Right now, 3,300 government schools are running as English medium schools. More than 5 lakh children are studying in these schools. One is Baste ka boj kam, reducing the bag burden. Rajasthan has done like this. Up to 5th grade, we have reduced our book into 3 parts. Like if there is a book of, you can see one example here. There is a book in the hand of that student. We have divided it into 3 parts, Bhag 1, Bhag 2, Bhag 3. In first quarter, he can read Bhag 1, so he need not bring the entire book. So we have done it for all the subjects up to class 5th. So in real manner, the USPAL committee guidelines have been implemented, I can say. These are all KGBV, gender equity, inclusive education, every state is doing it. And now what we are doing about एक वेबिनार हम लोग करते हैं. मैं आपको फिर ये थोड़ा सा पर्टिकुलरली बता रहा हूँ. नॉर्मली टीचर्स थिंक के सेक्रेटरी एजुकेशन बहुत ऊपर के लेवल पे होता है. देयर इज ए गैप. प्रिंसिपल भी सोचता है कि सेक्रेटरी बहुत ऊपर के लेवल पे होता है. उनके लिए डायरेक्टर भी उनको लगता है कि बहुत ऊपर होता है. ज्वाइंट डायरेक्टर को लगता है कि आई कैन टॉक टू डायरेक्टर, और सीडीओ को लगता है, चीफ डिस्ट्रिक्ट एजुकेशन ऑफिसर को, आई कैन टॉक टू ओनली जीडी, और प्रिंसिपल को लगता है कि मैक्सिमम दे कैन टॉक टू ब्लॉक ऑफिसर. I think we have to break this hierarchy if we really want to invite the good suggestions, if we really want to take the things. तो हमने ये जो webinar किया है, I take interview of 2 teacher every week, like in every 15 days, in month, whatever time I get. And इससे लोगों के अंदर ये आया है कि it is not impossible to approach officers. ये छोटी चीज़ नहीं है. ये देखने में ऐसा लग सकता है it's like a propaganda or it's like for making a good news. But no, really we select very good teachers. They come in my chamber only, and we interview them, and it is live on YouTube. So this has given message to everybody. You know, all officers are accessible. You tell your problems. This is another initiative. And last, about some governance part, we have a very good IT system. This is called Shala Darpan, and it's a good MIS system in Rajasthan. I think it has many good features. If you want to study this system, I invite all of you, because many good things are there. I found it really surprising that, you know, whatever I was thinking as secretary that ye hai, they said, sir, इसमें everything you want us to tell you, we have. Sir, second चीज मैं बताना चाह रहा हूँ, एक जो मैं point mainly बताऊँगा, शाला सम्मेलन. Whenever officers go to schools, they collect very good information. But what happens to that information? So in Rajasthan we have an app. You will go there, you can enter data into the Shala Sambalan, it will generate tickets about the problems you have seen, and unless if you clear those things, red flag will be there. So secretary and director can see how many red flags are still there. So if those problems are not solved, problems will be there, 1,000 red flags are there, 2,000 red flags are there, and we have made it really very simple. We have revised it this year. And one more thing which I want to tell you, this PO cadre thing, because new education policy is talking about PO cadre now. So Panchayat Elementary Education Officer is a successful experiment in Rajasthan. We are doing for last 5 years. It is very successful. On every 6 schools there is a PO. And it is the principal of the largest school, the largest senior secondary school of the area. And there is no cost involved because that person takes care as coordinator. This is also very good because the span is now 1 to 5. I will say now because number of schools have increased, it is 1 to 6 now. But this is very successful. And sir, one more thing I want to say, this is regarding Samagri Shiksha. Sir, when I counted all the guidelines which are issued in Samsa, sir, there were 57. There were 57 guidelines. From Praveshotsav to Kala Utsav to Rangotsav to all the clubs we run. And sir, we give funds. 250 rupees से लेके आप 2.5 लाख रुपए तक दे रहे हैं sir उनको. But problem is that sir कि 57 guideline कौन पढ़ता है sir? Even I will not read, education officer will not read, principal तो बिल्कुल नहीं पढ़ सकता है sir. If they are not reading it, then how they are going to implement it? तो sir हमें कुछ ऐसा innovative करना चाहिए. तो हमने state में क्या किया है sir? मैं बस ये बताना चाह रहा हूँ what I have done. I have done one simple thing. मैंने सारा detailed guideline को sir bunching कर दिया है. All one type of activity I have put into one group. Like sir, there were 5 clubs. I put school clubs. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All the Utsav 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All Utsav in one. And sir, मैंने उनका guidelines को bunch करके उनके ऊपर QR code में video लगा दिया है sir. Now you can see that video. You need not read the guidelines. So this is what I have done. So QR code has been generated and shared with the stakeholders. And now you may read the guideline or you may see the video. And sir, definitely लोग जो है वो video देखना चाहेंगे for the activity. Sir, now जो guidelines केवल principal के area में रहती थी कि I am the principal and I know what are the guidelines. Sir, now everybody can access it because these are on YouTube. And everybody, even a parent, even a student, even other teachers जो कि उसके ambit में नहीं थे, everybody can see them. And I sir, ये simplification भी governance का part है. And we can extend this particular thing to many other areas. कि जो trainings हम बहुत सारी करते हैं, sir, मैं इस point पे क्योंकि time मेरा हो गया है already, मैं इसलिए बोल रहा हूँ sir, कि trainings भी बहुत सारी मुझे ऐसी लगती है sir, साल भर में मैंने total लगा के देखा था कि if I conduct all the trainings given to me by Government of India, 100 days के लिए लोग बाहर रहेंगे. Sir, 250 days में से 100 days अगर बाहर रहेंगे तो 150 days में होगा नहीं sir. तो हमें ट्रेनिंग को रैशनलाइज करना चाहिए, तो हमने करने की कोशिश की है. मेरी टीम ने कहा कि सर हमें दिक्कत आएगी, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया हमें ये कहेगी कि आपने कम कैसे कर दिए डेज. मैंने कहा बट अगर हम लॉजिकली करेंगे तो डेफिनेटली दे विल प्रेज अस, क्योंकि हम पैसा भी बचा रहे हैं और मैन डेज भी बचा रहे हैं. तो सर उन्होंने मेरी बात को माना, हमने रैशनलाइज किया है. और सर मैं फिर कभी ये भी बताना चाहूंगा कि हाउ वी हैव रैशनलाइज ऑल द ट्रेनिंग्स इन अ सच ए वे. सर मैन डेज भी बचते हैं, पैसा तो बचता ही है सर, मैन डेज भी बचते हैं. So this is how we have clubbed all the activities, and these are the videos available, and this is our short. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. So now I would request respected chair for a brief remark before we go for question answer session. Okay. So now the house is open for your questions. Yes. Please, you please tell us your name and question, and then you tell us whom you want to address. Yeah.
Good afternoon, all of the respected panelists. Myself, Dr. R.K. Sharma, Principal Kendriya Vidyalaya Andhra. My question is to Sri Naveen Jain, Education Secretary, Rajasthan. Sir, how NEP 2020 perspective on equitable quality education is being translated into a school in our country?
I think there were many elements in my presentation which were showing that we are committed to NEP goals. NEP is focusing on early childhood care and education. So I told that we are starting 1,000 Bal Vatikas in our Mahatma Gandhi schools, and also we are giving help to 37,000 Anganwadis for pre-primary education. So ECC is one we have picked up from the National Education Policy. Number 2, the school complex, the PEO concept. 6 principals reporting to 1 senior most principal. That concept also is taken from, we had started in 2017 and policy came in 2020. But actually, then we started one more concept that is called urban cluster elementary education officer. Like 500 elementary education officer, we have put in cluster also. The biggest, the school of the biggest, the principal of the biggest school in the urban area is now UCCO. So PO is in rural and UCCO is in urban. And third thing, I think I will like to talk about out of school children, because that is also one of the foremost priorities in the national education policy. For out of school education, this time when we are surveying them for Praveshotsav to make them take admission in our schools, we are not going only manual. We have made a very good app. Now data is being entered into this app. I asked a question from officer that, how many people you admitted last year? They said, sir, 73,000 children we admitted. How many of them took exam finally? They said, sir, we cannot tell. But this year we have promised ourselves that, how many will enter and how many will finally will be retained up to March 14, we will compare. So I think these three priorities I can tell.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, good afternoon.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, sirs. Sir, I feel the topic is access to quality education and governance.
Sir, please अपना नाम बता दीजिए.
My name is Naresh. I am principal at Ogro School. Sir, the topic is access to quality education and governance. I feel governance for access and quality education, because everything goes down to governance finally to ensure the access as well as the quality. This was the observation, sir. Sir, question is first to Professor Sunil Kumar Maheshwari. Sir, you have talked about the stakeholder participation. Sir, who can be the best stakeholders in a school other than the teachers? Everybody, at least in India, if I feel, everybody wants to be the government teachers, but nobody wants to put their own words in the government school. So, sir, your views on this?
So, see, as I was saying, for school education, the stakeholders are primarily the teachers, parents, and the administrators of the school in that area. I think the major decision making, if we learn from the some of the premier schools and kind of thing, if I have to make major choices, major decisions, can we start some kind of collective decision making? Only the problem is that if the school is very, very small and if there is only one or two teachers, then this concept fails. In large school we can implement it. Now there can we start forming small committees. अभी हो क्या रहा है कि पेरेंट टीचर मीटिंग में हम लोगों ने एग्ज़ाम के बाद एक दिन पेरेंट टीचर मीटिंग किया, बच्चे का रिजल्ट बताया एंड द मैटर गेट्स ओवर. Can we start forming some kind of permanent committees where the parent nomination changes? So some parents coming together with the teacher, they will look at some issue of the school. Another group looks at another school. So some kind of committees, subcommittees of the school getting formed with the teachers and the parents, and maybe with the involvement of other administrative people. And they start making the major choices. I think that would be very helpful.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, may I ask one more question?
No, please.
Okay, thank you.
Come back.
आपकी माइक वर्किंग? आपकी आवाज़ अभी भी अच्छी है और आप बिना माइक के भी बोल सकते हैं और लाउड एंड क्लियर आपके बुलंद आवाज़ है आपकी. सी अल्टीमेटली हर चीज़ को गवर्नेंस के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से देखा जाना बहुत ज़रूरी है, क्योंकि आपकी व्यवस्था बहुत बड़ी है और जब व्यवस्था बहुत बड़ी है तो कॉमन सिस्टम्स ऑफ मैनेजमेंट तो आप लाएंगे. दैट इज़ पार्ट ऑफ गवर्नेंस. मुझे हमेशा लगता है कि आप एक स्कूल में देखिए, एक स्कूल में टीचर है जो पढ़ाता है, हेडमास्टर भी है जो पढ़ाते हैं, ठीक है. उसकी एक साइड में एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव सिस्टम बना हुआ है, ब्लॉक एजुकेशन ऑफिसर हैं, डीईओ हैं, जो उसके सर्विस मैटर्स को देखते हैं, दूसरी तरफ उसका जो पेडागोजी के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से वो CRC है, BRC है, उसके ऊपर में डाइट्स हैं, उसके ऊपर में SCRTs हैं। इस दोनों के बीच में मैं तालमेल नहीं देखता। अधिकांश जो BO और DO है वो हावी हो जाता है व्यवस्था पर, और जो लर्निंग की बात होती है वो कहीं ना कहीं चीज़ें हो नहीं पा रही हैं जितना को हम चाहते हैं। तो गवर्नेंस बहुत ज़रूरी है, और एजुकेशन सिस्टम को, एजुकेशन का जो स्ट्रक्चर है उसको भी एक सिस्टम्स पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से देखना बहुत ज़रूरी है, और जब सिस्टम पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से देखेंगे तो उसी को गवर्नेंस कहते हैं।
Thank you, sir. We will take only 2 more questions because time is running. Okay. First question from this side. Yes, please. Yeah, please. माइक बिकॉज पीछे वाले लोगों को नहीं सुनाई देगा। ऊपर है, देखिए रेड बटन था।
दूसरी माइक दे दीजिए।
Thank you. Yeah. So I was saying that the comment on the choice of school leadership and school leaders being the first pillar of governance was very critical, and I strongly resonate with it because my whole mission is around education leadership. And Shri Sanjay ji talked about how there are 10 types of schools, but 50% of these schools are actually grade 1 to 5, sir. And these schools don't even have a full-fledged school principal. They only have HTs and HMs, I mean head teachers or in-charge head teachers. And what I've observed on field is that even these HTs often see their primary responsibility as teaching, not so much as management or administration. So I've always wondered, and I would love to have your remarks on this, that while in other institutions, organizations, management and administration is seen as so coveted, so important, what would change this perception in the school as an organization that leadership is important and my job as a school principal or a school leader is far more important than, or it would enable teachers to do their job better? So would love to hear your remarks.
आपको एक corollary दूंगा, उसके बाद I'll respond. See, please understand there is a difference between being leader and being in a leadership positions. All those who are in leadership position need not be leaders, and those who are not in leadership position can display enormous leadership characteristics. और कहीं ना कहीं जब हम लोग गलती करते हैं, हर जो भी लीडरशिप पोजीशन में है उसको लीडर बोल दें, तो आई थिंक वी डू इनजस्टिस विद द इंस्टीट्यूशंस. सो द रिक्वायरमेंट इज प्रिंसिपल्स पोजीशन इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट लीडरशिप पोजीशन. The real requirement is all those who occupy this position must have leadership qualities. I think this is one part. The second part is, even if I don't have a formal principal, but suppose the senior most teacher, and if this person has those leadership qualities, even without designation they can do wonders. So I think that is where the requirement is. I don't think administration is major issue. Administration, the policies of the government, they can be taken care of. The larger issue is, how does the principal make sure that there is no indiscipline? Teachers come on time. They keep upgrading themselves. When they go for a training program, they put serious effort in learning the new pedagogies, new techniques, and come back and start imparting. How do they make sure that if there is a teacher missing for a particular subject, they start looking around and arrange those topics for the students? I think the leadership is more resolving these kind of dilemmas and keeping the team truly charged up and motivated. And that's where the difference comes actually, So again, I would say all those who are in leadership position are not leaders. And similarly, all those who are not in leadership positions are actually leaders. The question is, how do we make sure there's a proper match? so that only those who are leaders occupy leadership position. An institution, an educational institute is a great institution, especially the school ones, so that they prosper. That's where I'll
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah. One more question. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Surjit Singh, Principal Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya, Mungeshpur. Sir, my question is for Honorable Secretary, sir, Sanjay, sir. Sir, my question is, which document will provide roadmap for the implementation of the quality education as per the perspective of the NEP 2020? Thank you, sir.
ये तो आपने बहुत ही डिफिकल्ट प्रश्न पूछ लिया कि कौन सा डॉक्यूमेंट आपको गाइडलाइन देगा। आप एनईपी को ही पढ़िए, उससे आपको बहुत ढेर सारी गाइडलाइंस मिलेंगे।
Thank you, sir. Now I would request Chair.
नहीं, Professor Ranjana, thank you so much. I think we've had a very interesting set of conversations. And first of all, Professor Maheshwari spoke about several things. He spoke about mobile education system, but one thing, and he spoke about leadership matters. और ये leadership तो matter करता ही है. हम सब लोगों ने देखा है कि it is perhaps the most important aspect of an institution. One leader comes with the same team, he delivers so much, and the leadership change leads to diminishing in the kind of outcomes that institution was providing. So leadership is very important, and I think अभी Professor Maheshwari ने बड़ी important point आपको कही कि सही लीडर को सही जगह पर ले जा करके मैच करा करके उसको लाना बहुत ही important चीज़ है, और ये हम अपनी व्यवस्था में कर पा रहे हैं कि नहीं कर पा रहे हैं. I leave that question to you. I don't think so. There are very hard answers here, but we all know the answers कि क्या कुछ होने वाला है. You know, मेरे इतने वर्षों में जो मैं पब्लिक सर्विस में रहा हूँ, मुझे हमेशा लगता है कि हमें प्रश्न की जानकारी है कि हमें क्या करना है, लेकिन हम करते नहीं हैं. और नए प्रश्न निकाल करके पूछना में काबिलियत नहीं है. काबिलियत है कि आप जो प्रश्न है और जो यक्ष प्रश्न हम लोगों के सामने हैं उसे हम रखें. It's very simple. You see, a school needs to run on its own. A school headmaster must be empowered to run the school the way he thinks, within a broad parameter. And how would you assess the school? Assess the school is by learning outcomes. Eventually, everything depends on learning outcomes. I'll come back to that. But then I think Professor Maheshwari raised a very important point. Do we have community participation in our schools? Regarding primary education, it is always said that the primary education would succeed only if you have very, very strong interface with the community. And having once a while parents, teachers meet, I don't know to what extent it does things. Our problem is that our children are coming from poor families where both the parents are illiterate. What kind of a demand is being generated in the school for that kind of an education? Is the teacher doubling up for being the parent of that particular child? Are we actually taking the community into confidence? And I think this is an extremely important thing. We do give some amount of money within the Samagra Shiksha for holding all these community, but then often it is done in a manner which is very perfunctory, I would say. Community has to become a very important part of the institution, of the school. How you do it, I think you have to figure it out, because to a certain extent it is also culture specific, depending on which part of the country you are. And we are a very large country. You spoke about mother school. And I think mother school is very important, and today the Honorable Prime Minister, he transferred money to 6,207 schools who have become PM Shri schools. I think the basic idea behind PM Shri school is to be a benchmark school in every block. So everyone looks at the school, and the school actually exemplifies what is possible under the national education policy. It becomes a benchmark, people start looking at it. Mr. Snorre Westgard spoke about his experiences, he spoke about his pilots in Maharashtra and in Haryana, and these results which are emanating out of the UNESCO 2021 reports, governance of schools has been spoken of, and I think one of the major things is whether do we have ownership of any institution of which we are a part, and I think is a major problem all across the country. We go to office and we keep it dirty, and yet we keep our homes clean. Why? Because office, somehow we don't have a sense of ownership about the office because it doesn't belong to us and the home belongs to us. So ownership of any institution of which you are a part is extremely important, and I think somehow that has not developed to the extent. We keep our houses clean and we put all the dirt on the roads. Why do we do that? Because half the dust anyway will come back to your house. But we do it without even thinking about it. So wherever you are, you must develop a sense of pride, and a pride which emerges out of professional competence. And if you do that, then I think you will start making a difference. Naveen spoke about several things and made a very detailed presentation about the kind of things he is doing in Rajasthan. He spoke about institutional constraints, and I'm very happy to see that the institutional constraints, once you start speaking about institutional constraints, then answers will come back to you as to how do you do things. And I'm not going to mention, but one thing I think I was very happy to see the kind of integration between the Anganwadi centers as well as the schools in Rajasthan. So it's a very positive sign, and we would hope to see this kind of a thing from different states across the country. You know, in a meeting like this, I am always a little baffled because on one side I see that there is aspiration for learning English. And Naveen mentioned about Mahatma Gandhi English medium school, 3,000 of them in the state of Rajasthan. And just some time back, we also heard the Honorable Prime Minister speak. And he also expressed certain views about language. The national education policy is very clear about the kind of language we need to do. It talks about mother tongue or the regional language up till class 5, or preferably if that can be done till class 8. But initial learning must be in mother tongue. But yet the aspirations all around the country we see is different. And this differing aspiration, not differing aspiration, one aspiration and what we need to do in a normative sense, this needs to be brought on a single line. Otherwise, there will be demand for something and we will be talking about something else. I see in Andhra, everyone wants, they want all their schools to become CBSE. Now, why do you want your schools to become CBSE? Because you want your students to study English. And a few days back, the chairperson, CBSE is here, she has sent out a directive or an advisory to all the schools which are part of CBSE to consider using Indian languages as a medium of instruction. So, what we need to do in the normative sense and what our aspirations is also must fall together. And we need to do a debate on this. Naveen, I also want to say something else because something caught my attention which you mentioned. I agree that we are sending out too many instructions. You said 57 of them. I have not counted how many of them we have sent. But I would disagree. We must be in the business of reading. We must be in the business of reading. Some time back, somebody was mentioning that the new national curriculum framework, the draft which we have published is 612 pages. Who is going to read that? We must read it. If you read a Robert Ludlum paperback edition is also about 500 pages. No one says that Robert Ludlum is so thick. No, if you're reading other fictions, again, you find it interesting. Maybe the government documents are written in the most boring manner because very boring people who are part of the government are actually writing it. Yes, so I take that point, but people must read. Last time somebody was mentioning to me that who is going to read a 612-page national curriculum framework? I said that look, if you're not willing to read it, then you should leave the education sector. We must read, and here we are talking about inculcating inculcating a sense or a habit of reading. There's one more thing I would want to mention, and don't take it as a criticism. When you read something as a pictorial and when you read it in words, different parts of your minds are being exercised. And I met somebody sometime back who said that even you all know how Hari's book on Homo sapiens, which has become so popular, a pictorial book is coming on that. So we are becoming mentally lazy. Watching a video is very easy, but it exercises a different part of your mind. We must get into the habit of serious reading, and many of us in this room who have done well in life are also there because of the fact that we have done serious readings. So let us read, but yes, less instructions to be sent out, and sent out in a language which you will find it very interesting. But then I am not in the business of writing fiction. I'm not in the business of writing fiction. So it's been a very interesting conversation, ladies and gentlemen, and I see all my colleagues who are part of the school education here with me. I think what has been talked about today, it sets the path for us as to what we need to do in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. But the last thing which I will just want to leave you with is that no matter what we do, the intervention is good only if it leads to better learning outcomes. If I'm investing money in smart classrooms, computers in school, all kinds of investments, is it reflecting in your NAS scores? Or is it going to reflect in your state achievement survey? If it is going to do that, and you are seeing an improvement in the learning outcomes, I think we're doing something right. And let's do things right, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, we would like to felicitate our chair and panelists, and we will provide them mementos as token of appreciation. So now I would request Dr. Preeti Veena, Deputy Secretary, Department of School Education, to provide memento to Shri Sanjay Kumar ji. I will request now Charanjit Taneja ji to provide memento to Sunil Maheshwari ji. I request Dr. Ritu Chandra, Deputy Secretary School Education, to give memento to Mr. Sunil. Yes. Request Shri Umesh Pratap Singh, Director School Education and Literacy, to give memento to Shri Ravi. So, अब धन्यवाद ज्ञापन का समय है. So, I extend heartiest vote of thanks to our chair and our speakers. So, Shri Sanjay Kumar ji, Shri Sunil Kumar Maheshwari ji, Mr. Snorri Westgard ji, and Shri Naveen Jain ji. Really, we learned a lot today, and we have so much takeaway for now our work, which will start from now for another 2 to 5 years, as Secretary Sir has already said. I extend my heartiest vote of thanks to all of you. You have come from far and attended this session and also made this session interactive. I am very thankful to our rapporteurs, Professor Vardha Mohan and Professor Ruchi Verma ji from NCERT. So they are doing now tough task of reporting. I am very thankful to Director School Education, Shri Umesh Pratap Singh ji, and Dr. Ritu Chandra ji, Deputy Secretary School Education, and Alka consultant. They have really worked hard to make this session successful. So thanks to one and all for making this session successful. Thank you.